Hi, this is Alani Kilkenny, Sacred Space Designer and Intuitive Counselor, and this is another IGTV video I'm doing in my series of sacred home design tips during intense times. And obviously we are continuing to live in very intense times, and as always, any video I do or anybody I speak to is in full respect and understanding that while we're all hugely affected by the ripples of everything that's going on right now having to do with COVID-19 and how that has changed life as we know it, there's that commonality, but also we're all experiencing it in some ways so very differently. And depending on where you find yourself at this time, your life can be in a much more survival state. It could be much more in an intense or challenging time. So no one video is going to be a one size fits all. So I'm going to offer just some tips that I think might be helpful, at least to some of you, and might have you think things a little differently or might be of support to you in your home. So one of the things that I've noticed is, during this time in general, and it's something I'm working with my intuitive counseling clients with a lot, is about the importance of, practicing being present and how important that is, and how that's always the case and always true, that's an important and one of the most fundamental practices that all spiritual traditions talk about. And that's one of the most elusive things for so many of us, including myself, to practice continually. But at the same time, when there's so much unknown and when there's so much beyond our control in a way that's unprecedented, there's so much to be said about the practice of being present. And while there's plenty of tips that I can give you guys, and if I get feedback from you that there's certain things you want me to talk more about in videos, I'm happy to take a look at that. There's all sorts of things that, depending on your finances or your creative abilities, you can do in terms of your home or shifting your home or bringing things in, and we can discuss that. But for now, I want to talk about really appreciating and maybe leaning into your home the way it is already, in a different way, and letting it nourish you, maybe even with the way that it is, or at least getting clearer about what you need to do to actually shift what isn't nourishing you. And it could be some very simple things. I'm going to speak from my own experience a little bit. Some of you might be right now living alone. Some of you might be living with partners or roommates. Some of you might be like me, who I'm living with my spouse, and I'm also living with my two children. To give you context, my children right now are 13 and 9-year-olds, so they have a certain level of independence. They are homeschooling with their public school system, but I'm very much still need to be involved with that. And my husband basically is in this one room in our apartment, basically from, I would say, 6:30 till around 6 or 7 at night, pretty much nonstop except for a brief lunchtime. And during that time, I'm very lucky to continue to do work that I love, and I've been working with a lot of my intuitive counseling clients and sacred home design clients. I've been feeding our family. We've been cooking all of our meals at home, and that's really me who's been cooking. And I've been really the main support during the day to the kids for whatever they need as well. So there's a lot of plate spinning, right? And there's always a lot of plate spinning. It's just kind of now all condensed into like one home. And we live in New York City, so we're in an apartment. Again, we're lucky, incredibly blessed to have the apartment that we have. So it's not the teeniest apartment, but it's also basically we're all in kind of 3 or 4 rooms that are right on top of each other. So there's some intensity with that. And I'm finding that I need to be resourceful in the way that I kind of move in my own home. So for me, that means I work a lot now. The only room that I can kind of get the right Wi-Fi connection with and have enough quiet to do my work is my bedroom. So now I'm doing a lot of my sessions in the bedroom, or I'm doing this video right now in my bedroom. And so what I have to be very mindful of is that I need to make sure that I'm not in my bedroom all day when I'm not cooking or doing other things. So whenever the kids happen to be quieter during work and they're the age that I can do this sometimes, I try to do some emails or try to get some other work done in my living room. And when that doesn't work, and a lot of you parents are going to know right away why that doesn't work, just my being there sometimes means that I'm a distraction to them, which means they distract me, because now they can decide they need all these things from me that maybe if I was out of sight, they wouldn't need, right? So as parents know what that's like. I'm still trying to find these pockets of time to kind of change my experience of where I am. And then I'm trying not to go to sleep too late, although yesterday that flew out the window abominably. And I'm trying to have some time before bedtime to not be in my bedroom. And that has been really important to shift my energy so that also I can more easily sleep and not now completely associate my bedroom with work. So, according to Feng Shui, which I studied traditionally and used to call myself a Feng Shui person and used to basically really focus on Feng Shui and consultations, and now it's a toolbox. It's part of my toolbox that I use, but I go into homes or do remote sessions with people where it's really me as an intuitive and empowerment psychic and a designer giving sessions with Feng Shui as a tool. But one of the things that I've always did agree with Feng Shui and tried and actually did very much in our apartment until recently is I've tried very hard not to actually work in my bedroom. And that was one thing when the kids were at school, my husband was at his office. And when I worked from home or when I was able to go to a co-working space to get some work done, and now all of that's not possible. And now literally the only room where I have some space to work and to focus is my bedroom. So I have to be that much more cognizant of creating some space for myself elsewhere so that I can sleep at night, so that my bedroom isn't now just associated, even though I happen to love my work, you don't want to be thinking about work as you're trying to go to bed or all the emails that you're doing. So I do at a certain point take everything out of my bedroom, and that goes to organizational piece. So I have places to put it outside of my bedroom very easily. I work from my laptop, I work from my phone. So I make sure I don't keep any of that in my bedroom at night. And that does help a lot to make that delineation. For me also, I am a music person, but it's interesting, my relationship to music in some ways has changed during this time. Because I'm not somebody who loves wearing headphones a lot. It actually really bothers me. No matter what type of headphones I tend to have, I don't like having all that concentrated noise going in my ear. And frankly, right now I'm either working or I actually need to kind of have an ear out to what's going on with the family. And I'm also somebody who, my husband, a lot of his work is like conference calls. Like he's on the computer a lot, but it's constant conference calls. And so part of the challenge is he needs a lot more quiet from the exterior rooms, and with kids, that can be tricky. So I find that I used to do a lot of things when I would cook, and now I have to be more mindful of that because the kitchen's right next to where he works. And I find that the kind of music I feel drawn to now is a little different. There's so many different kinds of genres of music that I usually love listening to. But the last few weeks, I've really needed calmer music. And interestingly, often I've needed a lot more instrumental music. I'm finding words are very distracting, or I can't really listen to it in the background because other people are doing things. So there's a practical component. But I almost find that my mind needs to rest so completely from everything else that's going on and from all the noise at home, because I'm used to having more space. That I've been listening a lot more to classical, a lot more to certain types of jazz, things I've always loved and I've always listened to. And then for dinner, we often play music in the background, and we really found, even as a family, we've needed like gentler music or piano music, things that are really like soothing for almost our nervous system. So, but then at other times when my energy feels low, and the few times where maybe the kids are somewhere else and no one's working, sometimes I just need to turn on my favorite Florence and the Machine or my favorite 80s, playlist that I meticulously created on Spotify of all my favorite songs. and I just need to dance or just, basically, sing really, really loudly at the top of my lungs. Even though I'm a horrible singer, I love to sing. And so unabashedly just kind of like express that way. And that is a beautiful expression as well. But my relationship, again, like I said, to music, or when I can listen to it or how I can listen to it, has shifted. But I am giving some intentionality. I'm not spending a lot of time thinking about it. I'm kind of just going with the flow about how music does change your vibration and how you can use. So ask yourself, how can music, or is music, able to help me even move into the way I'm feeling, or maybe help move out of a way I'm feeling, depending on what emotions you want to amplify, or what emotions you maybe need to kind of calm and cool off or soften or nourish. So sound's important. A really simple thing, which you probably all know, but it's amazing how few of us do. If the air around you right outside is healthy, I'll say, because maybe there's construction around where you are still, because I know there's construction still happening in different places. I try, no matter what the weather is, unless it's like a torrential storm, to open most of the windows in our home, sometimes varying times, so it's not freezing because it's still been cold in New York at different times, open just to get fresh air and to get circulation going. And that's for health, but it also feels like for mindset, because we were spending a lot more time indoors than we're used to. And there's something about bringing that fresh air in that's wonderful, and making sure to spend some time, even if it's literally 2 minutes, drinking a little bit of tea that I'm making myself drink every day, both for health and enjoyment, but also just taking a little bit of a pause. We all have 5 minutes, truly, just to do something like that. I'll look, and for us, we're lucky, we get to look out the window, and we have some beautiful trees outside in New York City that I get to look at. Just taking a few minutes to not just, again, being on go, go, go and do, and trying to take in the sunlight on my face, or take in the blessing of spring birds that I'm hearing chirping all the time, and seeing interesting birds. We live in an area where, because there's a lot of trees across the street, we do tend to get like even hawks sometimes and amazing birds. But I can't help but wonder, with all the lower levels of congestion in New York City and the lower air pollution, I've been seeing really interesting birds and beautiful birds that I can't remember ever seeing before show up, and just taking delight in that and kind of bringing that sense inside. And as you can see by the curtains behind me, I love birds and I love nature and I love flowers. So yes, I often say, try to bring in some elements of what you love into your home. And now that sense of nature has never been more important to me. So I'm grateful that while I can't say I'm at all somebody who is great, like a green thumb with plants, I'm still kind of learning all of that about house plants. Interesting, about a month before all this, I was filming something that was really amazing and inspiring to me, with some people in my apartment, and got some more plants, some more house plants in our apartment. And it's been quite this deep relationship and nourishing these plants. And now that I'm home more often, I can really notice when they're getting dry, or when I need to prune a little bit and kind of figure it out. And not all of it's been peaceful, actually. We brought in our first like house plant tree from somebody really amazing and reputable in the flower district, and who's been in business forever. And we had like these little bug attack that we had to kind of figure out, even though everything's closed right now. But the plants, and taking care of the plants and having nature inside, has really been like so huge for our mental happiness and our emotional state. And there's something about seeing new growth that has been more moving than usual. And me and my daughter in particular, our tree is named Daniela. And Daniela has these new shoots that keep on appearing, and new leaves, and it's a different color green than the rest of it. So you can really see the delineation between old growth and new growth. And there's something just infinitely hopeful about that, especially now. So I would say, try to look at your home. Again, it's this continuing concept of looking at your home through new eyes. Look at the different senses around you and see how you can nourish yourself even more with even what you have right now.